It's the 30th episode of this long-running atheistic webcast.
Like we said last year, a lot has happened since YouTube's birth back in 2005.
But we again remind you that sometimes YouTube randomly adds commercial breaks.
We, however, have little control over such unwanted interruptions.
All you people keep talking and it's not fair. When do I get a chance to say something
Later,
important?
would you keep quiet? Anyway, since I founded Satanic Views about 9 years ago, I've found that the webcast outlasted the friendships with the original cast members.
Mainly, people move on or just move away.
That's why we always have new faces, as people come and go on a whim.
Don't worry. I'll never leave you.
And now for a few more viewer responses.
Somebody called Islamic loyalist asked, "How do you feel about that asshole who wanted to burn some Qurans?"
Over the years, I've heard of at least a couple American church guys wanting to do that. I don't often comment on such topical stuff, but I believe what's being referred to is a 2013 situation with Terry Jones.
No, not the guy from Monty Python.
Anyway, I'm insensitive about religion, and a book is a book. I don't care if you burn Korans, Holy Bibles, the Satanic Bible, them Jewish Torah books, or whatever. Or even a Teletubby coloring book, for that matter. But if you must destroy paper, please recycle it. Our litter is polluting land and sea, and the natural environment is way more critical than the written delusion.
Here's a message from Confused Agnostic. Just what is your definition of a satanic view?
There are two kinds of satanic view. One is looking at a statue or an image off in the distance that just happens to have horns or a pitchfork. But seriously, the other kind is more relevant to this webcast. A satanic view is just a way of thinking outside the box. In the eyes of somebody, each and every one of us is going to someone else's hell.
Here we go with another edition of History of Satanic Views.
In this episode, we're covering the years 2012 and 2013. So, anyway, by this time, it looked as though you'd pretty much gotten the show down to a science.
Yeah, like I said before, most of the cast members who believed in mumbo-jumbo had long since moved away. My interest in the subject matter had decreased.
Is that why your environmental travel logs had gotten longer?
Yep. I was still traveling and taking yearly vacations. If anything, Satanic Views gave me a reason to edit my travels together.
So basically, you exploit the devil to get people to watch your vacation videos.
Hell yeah! Nobody would watch my webcasts if this channel was called Family Vacations.
How has your travel technology changed over the years?
The best example of that is the history of video cameras. Some of the earliest underwater footage I ever shot was probably in Hawaii, maybe the late 1990s.
I remember that. You took a large VHS camera and wrapped a plastic bag around it before going underwater.
An expensive, big VHS camera was forever ruined. By the beginning of the 21st century, slightly more compact video cameras utilizing high-8 videotapes were more convenient. This camera's underwater housing was a huge, heavy, clunky, cumbersome device that made traveling a nightmare. It cost me about $1,000 back in 2001, so it was almost as expensive as the camera itself.
So I take it this slightly smaller version is more convenient.
I might have gotten that one around 2004. It utilized mini DV videotapes, which seemed so tiny and convenient at the time.
How long did you use these now outdated video cameras?
Too long. Over the years, I put thousands of dollars into repairing them both. But that all changed during the fateful years we're supposed to be discussing.
So what happened during the years 2012 and 2013?
It was right at about that time that I discovered these helmet cams and or hero cams, later called GoPros, tiny underwater housings, tinier camera, and even tinier memory chips.
So I bet these lightweight cameras have made your webcasts easier to produce.
Yeah, but these are made for extreme sports and like selfies. But because of the anamorphic lens, it can make things look distorted. For example, now my arm might look like it's about 8 feet long.
They can also make people look fat or out of shape, too.
Yeah, let's have a look at what it does to my nose here. I mean, it makes me have a big nose. If I do it like this, I look like I'm probably pregnant. I mean, is not real flattering, of course.
So, other than new kinds of video cameras, do you have anything else to say about the years 2012 and 2013?
I dealt with a lot of insecure idiots behind the scenes.
Then why the hell do you keep inviting all those morons onto the set?
Because I prefer to have guests and new faces. In 2013, attendees would invite their friends, so I scripted dialogue for all these extras I anticipated.
I remember all those people who would suddenly get cold feet when the cameras were about to roll.
Yeah, it's happened like 5 times. Paranoid wackos drive all that way to get here, only to say, I don't want to appear on camera.
So, did you kick them out on the spot?
No, I did not want to create an uncomfortable situation, so I just had them serve as cameramen. I don't actually need cameramen, but this way they could seem important.
This concludes another installment of History of Satanic Views. And now for a new edition of Ecomaniacs.
Alright, for this particular Ecomaniacs, we're doing island hopping for 2 weeks. No, this is not going to be a 2-week video. I'm trimming those 2 weeks down to just 22 minutes.
Alright, the first 2 or 3 days on this Tahitian vacation is being spent on the very small area of Taha, I think it's called. I believe this is an island that's probably the most remote island I've ever been on. And I've been to a lot of remote, isolated places, and I think I've bitten off more than I can chew this time. I think I don't want to do anything this remote from now on. I mean, there's little inconveniences like not as much internet, electricity, and hot water as I would expect back home, of course. No stores, so you're pretty much at the mercy of one little restaurant. And it's really hard to be a vegetarian. I am not a vegetarian when I travel, that's for sure. It's either meat or nothing, although I do still never ever eat seafood. Getting to Taha was a nightmare. That was a horrible, grueling 15, maybe 16 hours transferring on a shuttle or two, at least 3 different planes, a lot of waiting around and not being able to shower for a long time, and just basically sitting around all sweaty on a boat wearing filthy clothes because it was just a long, grueling day getting here to Taha, I think it's called, here in the French Polynesia. The other problem with French Polynesian islands is that I've found that in remote areas like this, many people do not speak any English at all. Everybody speaks French. So there's very few people I can communicate with. But trampolines are not the reason we came to Hibiscus Resort. We chose this cute collection of cottages because they used to have a sea turtle hospital where guests could pay for the thrill of releasing a turtle back into the wild once it recovered. The website looked really exciting to animal lovers like us, who came all the way to this part of the world just to help the turtles. But the English portion of their damn website was not up to date, and so we were misled. We traveled a humongous distance only to be told by a native that the Turtle Recuperation Center was recently closed up. It seems the French government and the Tahitian government were concerned about lawsuits or the risk of a captive turtle biting a tourist. So, as the story goes, they sent armed guards with guns drawn, supposedly, to harass the animal lovers and turtle handlers. So, handicapped turtles, some unable to fend for themselves, were released back into the ocean where they were easy pickings for poachers and fishermen. It's disgusting that gun-toting soldiers insisted that such vulnerable members of this endangered species became sitting ducks for this overpopulated plague we call the human race. Anyway, by the time me and Jocelyn got there, all that was left was an underwater ghost town. Just some empty pens that once housed injured turtles as they healed. It was really depressing since the website still showed customers handling turtles that they could release into the wild once these majestic reptiles made full recoveries. So, among the dilapidated docks and hazardous wood, the next best thing was to handle a turtle statue, since the real ones were probably turtle soup by now.
Although it's disillusioning to snorkel among the ominous remains of the sea turtle hospital, I still just enjoy being in the ocean. Even so, there was enough grim disappointment to make us want to dry off. Somebody at the Hibiscus Resort then recommended a long, scenic rainforest walk. The hike was indeed beautiful and with decent sightseeing, but thanks to language gaps, the walk took several hours longer than anticipated, and we neglected to bring fresh bottled water. Never before was I so agonizingly dehydrated. My eyes felt dry and painful, and my hands swelled up so I couldn't make a fist. It was a very new sensation that I've probably never experienced before and hope not to let this happen ever again.
This is a grueling hike. I like being in the jungle, but with
We're only a third of the way done, too.
with the sweat rolling in my eyes, it stings. It's very humid, very vast.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Worse yet, we ended up totally lost and had to call a guy at the hotel to come pick us up. No easy task when we speak different languages.
Here's the bed that we've been sleeping in Taha, I think it's pronounced. It's got mosquito nets all over the bed, but it's not real efficient. There's always an opening, so there's always mosquitoes getting in. It just sort of minimizes their attacks to a certain extent, but we wake up every morning with welts the size of marbles. They itch and they hurt. Mosquito net is better than nothing, I guess. But it's also very hot. This cottage has no air conditioning. It's hard to sleep here sometimes.
Once we were done spending the night with bloodsuckers and insomnia-inducing sweat, we were off to a private island the next morning.
This is certainly a very different experience. It's really cool. We have our own island to ourselves. I think they call them mutus here, so we've got our own mutu to ourselves. We're alone here. It's just me, Jocelyn, and apparently a cat. Poor cat. I don't know who left this cat here, but the only food we have is fruit. We can't feed this poor little kitten. Anyway, we were dropped off here by boat, and we're going to wait about 2 or 3 hours before they come and get us. Until then, we are totally isolated, living alone on this island.
Off in the distance, perhaps nearly 1,000 feet from shore, we saw strange, secluded, man-made objects sticking up out of the water. We swam all the way out there and discovered these creepy, dilapidated fish traps that used to corral unsuspecting fish onto mankind's ever-expanding dinner plate. It seems these directional nets are in a state of disrepair. I can only guess that the business tanked due to the ever-present crime of overfishing. But on a positive note, I just love underwater exploration and aquatic playgrounds, whether it's man-made structures or fallen palm trees. Up on the beach, I had to watch my steps so as not to crush any baby hermit crabs. Though born in the sea, these land dwellers are not unlike those sold in pet stores.
He's fine.
It's okay.
He's right there. Come on, don't you want to walk on the camera lens? You know you do.
Ow!
Rain clouds formed just as the boat took us back to Hibiscus Resort, so we couldn't have timed that one any better.
I've always loved trampolines. I used to be a gymnast, but I never saw what a trampoline looked like from underneath. So now I'm going to find out for the first time. Here we go. Oh! Oh! God damn. Oh!
Following a few days at this very isolated area, we took a boat and then a plane and maybe a shuttle to go to some slightly remote place.
All right, here we are on our second Tahitian island. We're on the island of Rasputin and Rapa Nui?
Rangiroa.
Rangiroa. And I have some familiarity with the French language. I learned a lot from that great icon of French culture that that great hero of French pride, Inspector Clouseau. Now, I haven't seen On the Trail of the Pink Panther, but I've seen A Shot in the Dark and all the ones that came after it, so I'm not totally fluent yet. What else? French Polynesia. Oh yeah, it's French, so I can sing in French. Semblant pour moi, aria, la da da, que passe ni old me way comble. I am the king of the Devo. Are we not, men? We are Devo. Semblant pour moi. So I'm not totally fluent yet. Being French Polynesia, every meal comes with French bread. I liked it at first, but I am gonna get tired of it eventually. And of course, it always comes with butter.
So after dining on fruit, French bread, fruit, butter, and more fruit, we got a ride with Europeans who don't really like Americans. It's an excursion to Bird Island and the Blue Lagoon. I'd never seen so many sharks all together in one place. It used to be I'd get all excited anytime I saw a single shark. But there were hundreds, maybe thousands, of black-tipped reef sharks, and pretty soon it did not faze me. None of the black tips were bigger than 5 feet long, but from the boat we saw the intimidating, ominous, dark shadows of a couple of much larger lemon sharks. At first I thought the tour guide was joking when he said we could get into the water with these two curious sharks. After all, we never had to sign any liability waivers or even tell anybody our names at any time on this excursion. I've heard that lemon sharks can get to be about 8 or 9 feet long, but it was hard to tell just how big this shark is. All I know is this is the biggest shark I saw on this whole trip. Interesting to note that most of the smaller sharks disappeared when this apex predator showed up. Though not as remote as the previous place, language gaps made cleaning and washing difficult. So we had to come up with our own makeshift clothes dryers.
Okay, here we are on Rangiroa, a part of French Polynesia, a Tahitian island, I guess, trying to find a pizza place. And we found one. I used Google Translate to figure out what they wrote in French, but here's what Google Translate says. It says, the pizzas are unequal. You can order salads, splitting a mirror, and if we do not definitely want to stay, you can go. Yum, makes my mouth water. The worst thing about it, the mosquitoes, and even getting sunburned, even living in the Arizona desert. I get sunburned worse here than I do at home, as you can probably see by the red tint on my skin.
And now for something completely different. Away from obscurity and into a far more crowded tourist trap. Mooréa would offer me a chance to stay at the biggest 5-star mega resort I've ever been to.
Alright, we've arrived at Mooréa. Very crowded. Beautiful mountains, beautiful. We're waiting for intercontinental pickup. Quite a change from those secluded cabins we've been staying at out in the middle of nowhere. I've always wanted to go in the water and using one of these old school dive suits from the up until the 1950s, ever since I saw one in Godzilla King of the Monsters. They got the weights so that you're just walking on the bottom. You're not actually swimming. These were invented before Jacques Cousteau made the aqua lung for modern scuba diving. So today I will get to walk on the ocean floor, or on the bottom of the ocean, or the bottom of a very shallow ocean, on aqua blue, also known as snuba. A more modern version of this old tank.
Mai to te tau ahina, te hia ai o te kui, ia te ne te hoa, e hiro ama.
The brand name on the equipment is Aqua Blue and the activity is called snuba. I was aware of it for years, but as a certified scuba diver, I assumed it was beneath me. But snuba turned out to be a fun, stress-free, easier way to breathe underwater. It does not replace scuba diving or snorkeling, but instead complements them. A great warm-up for those considering the far more difficult equipment associated with scuba. It's really cool to walk slowly on the bottom of the sea, and it made me feel like I was in the 1961 movie Mysterious Island. I also wanted to see if I could cram my GoPro HeroCam into the Aqua Blue helmet to see if I could finally record myself talking underwater.
Here I am doing snuba. Unsuspectingly fun. It's, I don't know if you can even see that I'm looking out the window here. I don't know if you can hear me okay. But, I've never done this before. It's a lot of fun. I can see myself doing it again sometime.
After this cute little excursion, we headed back to the Intercontinental, a resort that is recommended for short people. I lost count of all the times I accidentally got my head scratched by the artificial thatched roof overhangs that made every cottage look like something right out of Gilligan's Island. My other complaint about the place was the Dolphin Center. I think they claim these are domesticated dolphins who are too old or too weak to be released back into the wild. I don't know how true this is, but I do know these intelligent animals thrive in complex family groups and are miserable in these small pens.
I don't want to ruin anyone's fun, but I wonder if these people have any idea as to what goes into these activities. I'm guilty of it too, though. Years ago, when I was more ignorant, I swam with dolphins. Captive dolphins. Oh well. Getting ready for more snorkeling here in French Polynesia. Gonna clean out the mask. And I'm gonna clean out the mask using gel douche. That's right. Douche. Consider that fishy smell. Douche. Don't go scuba diving without it. Alright, here we are in our hut, staying in Mooréa. Now if you step outside the hut here, step outside and we are on the water. Now, over the years I have slept on boats, I have slept underwater. This is the first time I ever slept on top of the water in these over-the-water rentals.
But the vacation booklets made it look like they were in the middle of the sea, but I think those photos were carefully cropped. The huts are in fact on peninsulas firmly connected to solid land, only protruding over the water a little bit. I had another gripe about the mostly fun resort, me being a spoiled American. Amazingly, the humongous campus lacked any real pharmacies or drugstores, so we had to spend a lot of money to rent a car and find a store, and when we did, we couldn't even stand in line at the cash register. After confusion and waiting around, an English-speaking customer told us we had to take a number in a drugstore. Interesting variety of Tahitian French music that we've been hearing on this trip. I do feel that most of this Polynesian and somewhat European-sounding music sounds like the chorus for the song "The Lion Sleeps Tonight." So basically every song is a lot of "Awim away, awim away, awim away," but it is partially French. So it's more like "Awim away, oh." However, France did make some good music, I think. It just so happens I brought along a CD of my favorite French punk band,
metal urbane, or as them Frenchies probably call it, metal urbane.
Grandir dans un monde trop petit, bien élevé, la tête baissée, faire son chemin quand on est enfermé, passé, futur, en avant, en arrière, va vite pas d'évasion, essaye la rue, aucune issue, ta vie déjà tracée, t'as toujours réglé, les épines dans ta tête, c'est toi qu'il faut changer. Tu peux changer de direction pour traverser, fais attention. Toujours feu rouge et carton orange, jamais feu vert et carton blanche. Dans ton ghetto tu es coincé, ton ascenseur reste bloqué.
Though I didn't like seeing dolphins in captivity, this intercontinental resort was somewhat redeemed in my eyes because of their sea turtle clinic. Injured and sick turtles were able to recover, unlike that defunct thing in Taha 2 weeks before. We tourists were not allowed to touch the turtles. No big deal because I've handled turtles thousands of times. I've learned how dangerous and painful their beaks can be. Once I said goodbye to the reptilian patients of Mooréa, we were off to the final leg of this presentation, going to the most well-known island in French Polynesia, Tahiti. Not as secluded as Rangiroa, not as luxurious as Mooréa. Traffic jams, congestion, and Mooréa Spa Hotel had some pretty interesting architecture and lamps shaped like stars. Though a very nice place, this part of Tahiti has no real beach, just a harbor with oil slicks, flotsam and jetsam, so I had my fill of saltwater activities. Among the pretty green palm trees, Tahiti also has its share of litter and gangland tagging, I guess. I never understood the concept of graffiti or defacing public property. It's all done by human trash that should have been aborted. Useless losers who have way too much time on their hands. Today's excursion took us to the remains of a pagan temple. Ruins from an indigenous culture that probably predates the arrival of white settlers and Christianity. But I don't care. I just want to get away from all these biting, flying insects that we foreigners have no resistance to. I hear it takes around 6 months to build up an immunity, but during that time, the itching and rashes are maddening. The whole time this video was shot, the tour guide was talking about Tahitian culture, but I'm thinking, whatever, just get me the hell out of here. But the suicidal bugs did not know about the sunscreen on my head, so many of them drowned on my scalp, and I have no sympathy for them.
All these sport flies. And on Damon's head.
Serves them right for trespassing.
I got them.
I only eat unhealthy fast food as a last resort. In this case, I'd had enough cherry moya and guava juice to last me a lifetime.
This is the best food I've had since coming to Tahiti, but it's American food at Tahitian prices, so everything costs twice as much.
Having finished my Le Royale Mumbo Jumbo Mac or whatever, it was back to the tropical jungles for our final Tahitian excursion. Swimming among freshwater eels and friendly local village children who kept smiling and waving at us was a decent finale and a great way to evade those flying parasites. But when we surfaced and caught our breaths, we also caught more pests. They flew up our noses and into our lungs. We coughed them out and sneezed them out to watch them drown in our phlegm.
Now that's a new sensation, inhaling flies.
So, my legacy of Tahiti will forever be burial at snot.
There you have it, another episode of Ecomaniacs.
Now for even more viewer responses and comments
I'll
from...
interrupt you, ya stupid retard. All you people make me sick. You hardly ever let me talk. Don't you assholes realize it's all about me?
Fucking ass.
Ha!
Ow! Ow!
Oh no.
Not again.
Take that, you master manipulator! You lousy daughter of a bitch! Let me take that ugly thing off your shoulders! Ha 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 ha!
Wow, that really hurts!
What? Ow! Ouch! I like big tough woman. If this is the best sex you ever had, let's hear you moo like a cow. Oh yeah! Ooh, baby! Who's your daddy? That feels good! Oh yeah! Ooh, baby! Who's your daddy?